Greetings, mortals. I am Q, and welcome to my August presents. I am glad to see that some of you mortals have decided to join me. And we're going to be talking about The Sound of Thunder, the latest Star Trek Discovery adventure, I would guess we would call it. So, a little bit about this episode. I actually must say it seemed a little more Star Trek than many of the previous ones. Going to an alien planet, though the fact that it was Saru's planet took away a little bit of it. Original series, there would be some crazy thing happening on a planet. Greetings, Sebastian, we will talk soon. There would be some crazy thing happening on a planet, and then Kirk would come in and be like, yes, we are killers, but we're not going to kill today, or some noble BS. This, with Saru, was definitely a change from that type of thing, but I do have to say it did have a little bit more flavor of Star Trek. Now, there wasn't a huge B-plot, but we did visit with Paul Stamets and his returned husband, Hugh, Dr. Culber. And what's interesting is Dr. Culber's entire biology has been reset. So he doesn't have scars, so his entire body is like brand spanking new, except for the gray hair. I guess because he was aged to that particular point. But what I find interesting is it doesn't seem like he isn't, how do you humans put it? Culber is not nearly as into Stamets as he appeared to be in the beginning. I get the impression that maybe with his biological reset, his hormones might have reset as well, and he's not quite as in love. But this remains to be seen. Again, the Q Continuum has basically made me not poke my head in, though I would love to show up and teach Burnham how to actually speak a little less dramatically. But again, she was not the focus of this episode. She was there. And you do need to service your actors. And Tilly was there, but she was not a major part. It was definitely all about Saru and dealing with these Baul. What I find interesting is Baul sounds a lot like Gaul, which is another universe where they have stargates. And it was interesting that Saru is able to have his fellow Kelpians go all through the Vahari in such a short period of time and survive it so that they could become top of the food chain once again. It is an interesting backstory and interesting how they grabbed that information from that alien who passed and were able to use that to their advantage. But yes, it definitely felt more like a Star Trek episode. We will talk about the Orville very soon. Hello, Matt. So the other thing was that Saru, with his enhanced eyesight, was able to actually see that the Red Angel is Iron Man. Well, no, not Iron Man, but someone in some type of mechanical suit who can transport themselves with high technology and appears to be an angel, but it does also appear that they're just using tech far beyond what the Federation is familiar with. I mean, I could definitely do the same effects with a snap of my fingers, but I can't be bothered. So overall, I have to say this episode was a much better Trek feeling. I'm not saying other episodes there weren't some gems and there weren't some good parts in them, but this one overall felt more like the mission. Pike was a little bit more Kirk-like, though. Again, he wanted to knock on the front door rather than sneaking in, as Saru had suggested. So he's a little bit of a Boy Scout. And his little thing with Ash Tyler, Vok, that is something that looks like it's smoothing out. I'm still not pleased with the fact that everyone seems to know about Section 31. And I refuse to believe this is the Prime Universe. But again, good Star Trek episode. So, your thoughts. I am looking forward to reading them. We do have a question. And Sebastian says, this is the best Discovery episode so far. It felt more Trek. It did seem a little more self-contained, though it did tie into the Red Signal, Red Angel whole storyline. If they had eliminated that part of it, it would have been pure Trek. And not Drek, which sometimes it is. And apparently we will finally see Spock next episode, who has forgotten how to shave. But someone's asking me about the Orville. That universe seems much more Trek-like to me, and I do watch it. And it seems that some of their customs, I don't know how many of you watch that show that my dear deceased compatriot, the Governor, reacts to, The Walking Dead. But the Alpha character seemed to have a Mocklin divorce planned for her husband. But yes, the Orville, I have to say, definitely a lighter tone, much more Star Trek. It does have continuing plot threads, but they don't overpower the stories. So any thoughts from you? I'm sure they'll be wonderful. Is this all we're going to do? Is say, hey, good episode? So Matt is learning about this series through me. And you watch these things long after the series has finished. Well, I appreciate you tuning in. And hopefully by the time you watch the series, my words will have faded a bit in your memory. So it won't be quite so spoilerific for you. And then you could always come back and watch again, because I believe these Fandom Spotlite folks are still going to be putting this particular information on their channel for a long time to come. Well, we have a comment from Sebastian that he liked it, but yes, Pike did seem a little bit of a pushover this episode, but I did like the fact that when he initially came up to the bridge, Saru was in the command chair and he had to kind of like say, hey, what are you doing? And get him out of there. That was kind of interesting because Kelpians, well, Saru, as what he thought Kelpians were, very fear-based, so he would be like out of that chair in an instant. And he definitely seems more aggressive. I'm liking this new Saru. And the needles, oh my god, shooting those things out. Those can come in handy in a future episode. And thank you, my cat. I actually was given him as a gift from Gary7, who, while not on my level, seems to have a little bit more in the brains department. But I'm hoping that Pike steps up and is a bit more commanding. I would love to see him spin off into his own series and just follow that up until Kirk takes over. But yes, in this he did not seem to have a strong role. Yeah, Saru is a badass predator. You know, not the kind who's like hunting in trees and camouflaging himself and, you know, he is kind of one ugly, well, you know what I mean. Murder Bear asks if there's any cat jumps on the live stream. Well, not yet. We can't plan them. Cats are kind of like Q. You can't make them do anything. Sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. What can you do? I can try. But transporting cats, again, Q Continuum says that's a no-no. So Matt is saying, where do I rank Discovery in terms of the other series, or is it too early? It's hard to say. There's a cat up there, asleep. These cats need to earn their keep. It is kind of early to say. I mean, as far as special effects, I will say that this series ranks up there. As far as storylines, I would definitely say, well, the first season of Discovery was marginally better than the first season of TNG. Even if the first season did have me. But that was such a disaster. Even my powers couldn't make it totally palatable. And some of those lines in TNG, the dialogue, you think the dialogue in Discovery is awkward. And it is at times, but TNG also had its share. Let's be honest here, but as it progressed, TNG became a most excellent series. I've never warmed to Voyager as much, though it did have some good episodes. Deep Space Nine, once you got past the first season or so, really started to do well. Again, if we go season to season, TOS will always be up here. It is always the standard by which we judge. And of course, we do give it a bit of a curve because of the technology of the time. And the acting was a little bit different in style. But I would say for season 1, it would probably be somewhere on the bottom is Enterprise, TNG season 1, Discovery, Voyager, Deep Space Nine. But this doesn't count, of course, the problems with canon. I still don't like the fact that Section 31, which was introduced in DS9 as a super secret organization, is now, everybody knows about it. They may not be very admiring of it, but it's well known. They were supposed to be so secret that they didn't even have a name for their own organization. They just, other people who discovered them might call them Section 31, but no one in the organization called the organization a thing because they didn't need to. The answer, of course, is 42, Gregory. It is always, but do you know what the question is? That is the real thing. And Murder Bear, yes, of course. I am obligated through my contract with Fandom Spotlite, and Qs do keep their word to reply to such things. So, Stamets and Culber, Hugh, I don't know, I foresee some trouble in their future. I don't think it's going to be an easy road back for Hugh. I think this is all a new change for him. Stamets is thrilled, but I think his bubble is about to burst. And I think that is a great thing that the writers are doing there. Because people change, people go through trauma, maybe they'll break up. Those things happen in every relationship. The Baul. People say they look evil. Sebastian says they look evil. They also look kind of slimy. That was a lot of slime. They appear to be an aquatic species. And yes, it was very dirty. Whoever, if that was not totally CGI, then whoever's in there, bravo to them for getting all slimy. Excuse me, what? I don't know what you're saying, mortal. Do they look evil to humans? Perhaps, perhaps. They kind of look like bowel movements. Bowel movements. Those red eyes are evil, but then again, if you've ever had a really painful, you know what I'm talking about. Matt is asking about the Klingons. Well, first of all, me and Klingons are like this. But the look of the Klingons, a lot of people were very upset about the look of the first season Klingons. Now they have retconned explained it that they shave their hair when it's time for war. I guess General Chang likes to shave his head from the undiscovered country. And they have explained that now that the war is over, they're growing out their hair. So they're beginning to look a little bit more like Worf. Why anyone would want to look like Worf, I don't know. But yes, they have been affected by the fan backlash with the Klingons and came up with a solution, which was actually kind of a clever solution. Yeah, it did seem, Sebastian is saying about the security officer. I think it's still Nan, I just don't think she had a big role to play. I didn't even see her on the bridge. She could have been off duty or attending to other duties around the ship. But, yeah, I did not see her at all in this episode. But I have a feeling she'll be back. I don't know, I think they need to get the security officer from the Orville. Now, that would be awesome. She could just toss aliens around, it would be wonderful. But yes, Matt, I hope I answered your questions about those Klingons, and I'm very glad that Earth technology does not allow the stench of Klingons to come through, because it is horrendous. Okay, so by the end of this episode, the world of Kaminar, though I was thinking caviar, they kind of look like some type of seafood, though more shrimp, I think. But that's a tale for another time. Maybe over a cocktail? Yes, I do go on and on. But this is an appetizer for another time. So Kaminar has suffered a radical shift. And it's interesting how they kind of skirted General Order 1 because the Kelpians were aware of high technology and warp drive and such. I could imagine that their little rule would have some trouble where a planet had two sentient species, one of whom had advanced to the point of warp travel, and another had not. And how to deal with that particular situation. If the Kelpians were still protected by General Order Number 1, there would be a lot of court-martials going around, but I think they skirted that successfully. Oh, now we're switching universes. Gregory's asking me about the new Doctor, or the new Doctor Who series. Having observed it, because I get around, I think that the stories have been a little lacking and the cast is a little large. It's very difficult to develop a new Doctor when you have 3 companions all with backstories. I believe that Captain Kyle fellow did a review on the New Year's special, which you might want to check out. Go to the channel, look around, you'll find it. And I believe he had some choice words. And I have to say, Captain Kyle is one of the more intelligent of you primitive-brained humans. But nothing compared, of course, to me. Prawns on the Barbie. Maiden, who is another one of those somewhat bright humans, points out that it's convenient that they found another female Silesian. Is that what? Selayan, yes. All these species. It's real easy in the continuum. We're just Q. You see another Q. You say hi, Q. That's it. Not to be confused, of course, with the Power Master engine. But yeah, they're supposed to be a pacifistic but kind of snobbish race, and they just kind of find another one who works in security, who happens to be Selayan. But apparently, Captain Mercer had requested that. Sebastian says that tonight's episode of The Orville was incredible. I was blown away. Don't give any spoilers for those who haven't seen it yet, please, Sebastian. Matt, yes, that's you. You heard about the Harry Mudd character. Though I have to say, one of my complaints about the season 1 appearance of Harry Mudd, he did not appear to be as light in tone as the original Harry Mudd. He was a little darker. That I wasn't as thrilled about. He went around killing people at one point. Not to give too many spoilers away, but Harry Mudd seems more of a shyster and would rather trick people than seek revenge. Sebastian, I don't know if they... I have to wonder what the showrunners over at Discovery think about the Orville and how a lot of fans are equating Orville more with Trek than Discovery. I have to wonder what they're thinking. And I have to wonder if they'd actually try to hire someone from the Orville over. Yes, they did bring in Mudd. Obviously not the original charming actor. And I did enjoy seeing him in some Tribble Trouble in the animated series as well. Yes, Mudd seemed much more, as Sebastian put it, of a maniac and not just a con man who kind of bumbles along. Though they did kind of explain the whole wife thing, kind of. I don't know. Let's just find us some androids and have fun with them. So, Gregory, are you saying you're in Amsterdam? And where is everyone from on this planet? Again, due to minor indiscretions, I'm not allowed to just poke into your minds and figure this out. So please, tell me, where are you from? This Fandom Spotlite channel is apparently based in the United States, near that city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. But where are you guys all from? And while you're at it, any more thoughts about this season so far? I will say this season overall has been better than the first season of Star Trek Discovery. It continues to do better. Though, is it perfect? By no means. But it is a much better flavor than the previous season. I do kind of wish in the first season, Matt, here's a little kind of spoilers thing, though you've probably heard they do visit the mirror universe. I think running into that so quickly, it's hard to know what a counterpart, a mirror version of someone being so different would be like if you don't even know the original character that well. Netherlands, Los Angeles, California. So this is early for you. And Matt is in England, in Lincolnshire. Your pronunciations, you know, all over this world are quite interesting. So, next to Sir Isaac Newton's house. You must be very proud. He actually had a brain, which is rare for your species. I have only visited England once, but I do wish to return at some point. Once perhaps I get through this whole tiff with the rest of the continuum. Gregory, we're going into far-ranging topics. Alita. You have not seen Alita, do I recommend it? I actually just saw that today. Alita, Battle Angel, and I would have to say, for the most part, the CGI and special effects are great. There's a few areas where it's iffy, but overall, I enjoyed the story. I haven't looked into the source material. I'm not sure how close it is, but it was actually a very enjoyable tale. I actually cared about some humans for a bit, even if they were part machine. So it was fun. It was enjoyable. I would not think it's going to be winning an Oscar, but still, a fun romp. And it looks like they're setting it up for some kind of continuation sequel. Matt is offering me an apple from Sir Isaac Newton's famous tree. That's very lovely. But I'll pass, because then you'd have to ship it. It's a whole big mess. But I do appreciate the thought. If I visit England, I'll have to look you up, and then we'll go examine these apples. Sebastian says, in Alita, the love story didn't work for you. Actually, the love story seemed more of a plot device. Wasn't all that heartbroken for the ending. I'm not trying to spoil it, but yeah, the love story was just, it seemed a motivational thing. But I found Alita herself to be quite charming. And, as most charming teenage mental girls, no matter how old they truly are, she might not have the best taste in young men. That's all I'll say. Okay, we've had a far-ranging conversation. I guess this episode of Star Trek, we're going to give it overall a thumbs up and not bash it. And we're also going to say Orville gets a double thumbs up. Alita gets a thumbs up. And the Netherlands gets a thumbs up. England, Los Angeles, Philadelphia. Better than Captain Marvel. Has Captain Marvel come out already for you? I don't think it's come out for us here in the US. So that will be interesting to see what they do with Captain Marvel, who is actually a mortal with a little bit more power than most of you folks. Matt is jealous of all the conventions we have here in the US. Well, I appreciate that, though when I did go to England, I was going for a convention. So they do have some in your country, but obviously the US, we have a tendency to overdo just about everything. Eating, border security, and conventions. We have so many conventions. In fact, sometimes I think too many conventions. But yes, it would be great to meet you too, Matt. If I do show up, I will let everyone know that I will be showing up in the UK whenever I do and where I'll be, so you can stalk me and take photos and sell them to magazines, as I believe you humans do. Okay, well, I would like to say this was fun. I suppose it was better than talking to myself, though I am a stunning conversationalist. Sebastian, you are correct. The critics who have seen Captain Marvel already say it's good, but they've said movies are bad that were actually good, and good that were actually meh. So we'll find out. Perhaps the week that Captain Marvel comes out, in addition to talking about Star Trek Discovery, though, we might be on a break. This Discovery thing, I think, will go up to episode 8. There will be some big cliffhanger, and then they'll make us wait. And many, many, many people will then cancel CBS All Access while waiting for the show to return. I imagine that the Fandom Spotlight people will do that as well. Okay, so I am going to be getting off here shortly. Don't take that the wrong way, humans. I know how your minds work. But if I wanted to, of course I could. So, be sure, if you have not already subscribed, to do so and click that notification bell so you know when we put out new videos. I was told that in the description there is a link to coffee. Apparently coffee is very desirable by the staff of Fandom Spotlight because they like to stay awake. And also there's a few companies like CBS All Access who try to take the revenue for certain videos, and AMC on at least one video. So if you'd like to support the channel, please check down there and let us know in the description, or in the comments below the description, would you like some Q merchandise in our merch store? I think it would be wonderful, and I think you would be honored to be walking around with me on a shirt or on a phone case. So let us know about that. And like, comment, share, all that wonderful stuff. And I'll see you later. Forge and Skill wants to get off. There's apparently a motion that you can do as a human. And Tom Baker would be most welcome. Well, we'll have to see. Would you like to see him? Well, I really think you might. So we'll end it here. Thank you so much, mortals, for taking times out of your short existence to listen to the words of Q. Because you know, the words of Q are, well, worth 1,000,000 times any words of a mere mortal. So we will see you next time. And remember, the trial is never over.